I don't see the indication.
It says right there, live on Facebook. Meeting is now streaming live on
never
Facebook.
Mind. Sorry,
there
I
it
don't
is.
have my end. I'm still setting up my end, so please continue disregard.
Cool. So we're happy to welcome for the first time on Mandalicious. Ross is joining us. And we've missed you on this show, so I'm glad you've watched some of the episodes now, and we can have your voice and opinion.
I binged 1 through 6.
Added to the mix. That'll be a good perspective for tonight because we've been doing it weekly. So
yeah,
I'll be interested in hearing what you think after seeing 6 in a row. And of course, our regular host, George, from his hospital bed, people.
Special.
That's how dedicated he is.
Hardcore.
How you doing, George?
This is the way.
You have spoken.
I've spoken.
Well, I'm glad you're making time for us still in your treatment schedule. It's always good to have you here.
The show must go on.
Indeed, and so must the Sean, who also has just joined us. So, Sean, as soon as your audio is live, please tell America, are you wearing any pants?
I am, but they're sleeping pants because it's a little chilly.
So, chilly in Las Vegas, people. That's what happens with climate change.
Yeah.
So, welcome, Sean. It's good to have you.
I mean, all he has to do is go down to any of the buffets, and there will be chili. So
no. Yeah, it's very true.
And chiming in, of course, at exactly the right moment is Sun Seal. How are you doing, Sun? As Toad
Hello,
Man.
Everyone. Yeah, Toad rules. Toad rules. Oh, and that reminds me, Carlos, remember how you were talking about Mos Eisley being dead?
Yeah, didn't it seem that way to you?
Compared to the guild town that they were in, hell yeah, Mos Eisley was fucking the ghost town.
Yeah, exactly. On what was the name? They finally revealed the name of that planet. Navarro, was that it?
I think so.
It's Dave Navarro's planet. That's beautiful.
And of course, rounding out our hosts is our producer, Justin. How are you doing, Justin?
Hello, doing good.
DJ Dust Justin is in the house.
So we have a full crew tonight, which is awesome. As we head into reviewing Mandalorian Chapter 6, which I forgot to check what the title was. Does it have a title this week?
Yeah,
it does. The Rescue.
The Rescue. All right, so The Rescue. Let's start out what we thought of it. George, why don't you give us your thoughts?
I got to pull up my notes. All right. I loved it. There's a lot. Okay, so each week it's been clear that what the showrunners wanted and what we expected what we thought we wanted, and I'm starting to dig their style. Each week he and Baby Yoda are on the run seeking some kind of sanctuary, and instead of bad guys of the week, we're getting good guest star of the week, and we hope that they'll return. And I like this flip of the norm. I'm no longer worried about a push of some main narrative. I think that we'll get something in the last 2 episodes, but that's not their agenda as far as how they're taking the approach for this particular show. It's like a man on a mission gathering a team for this episode. I thought the funniest sequence was Baby Yoda in his Home Alone sequence, as I call it.
Yeah.
Playing hide and seek with that droid.
It sounds great.
I would watch a whole Home Alone film with Baby Yoda in it. It would be amazing.
I am amazed that they are still they're able to milk Baby Yoda being Baby Yoda.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Hey, Hayden, we've got an interruption from Hayden. He wanted to let us know, I heard you talking about Home Alone, and I'm watching Home Alone right now, he said.
Is it true they're rebooting that? Because that would be a travesty.
Oh, God.
No.
They already
I've heard.
did, kind of.
With that awful 3rd sequel?
No. There's a 4th one.
There is. Direct-to-video 4th one. Yep.
Okay.
And actually, it's funny because if you guys watch Red Letter Media, Macaulay Culkin has been a regular for the past 2-3 years on Red Letter Media. They do a show called Best of the Worst, where they take 3 horrible movies, watch them, and then decide what's the best out of all bad movies. And they had Macaulay Culkin on to do the Home Alone 4 one. It is absolutely brilliant. It was a few months ago.
That's cool.
It is a kind of a nice update on the original, but it's still it's different for sure because the premise is completely different.
Well, I'm going to interrupt because this is not the Home Alone after show. It's the Mandalorian after show. But since we'll pick
We
up where
would
you
be in a
left off,
very
son. And why
sorry
don't? Or were you
state.
done yet, George? Did you have more you wanted to say?
The only other thing I wanted to say is, Sean might like this trivia. The guy who played the New Republic officer, he was played by the same guy who voices Anakin in the Clone Wars.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
Seriously?
great. And of course, we had,
What was
There
the
was a lot
character's
of
name? Davin?
yeah,
something like that.
Davin, right? And of course,
Yeah.
Dave Filoni was one of the pilots of the X-wing pilots. I guess 2 other directors were too.
That is the most casual conversation I've ever seen between X-wing pilots ever.
I know.
Best thing I've
They're
seen.
like, here we are, hanging
Best
out.
reaction I've seen to this episode was the guy from Space Docs, the YouTube channel, saying, "I would watch an entire series of bored X-wing space police."
Yeah, it was pretty
You know what it
good.
reminded me of? I'll tell you what it reminded me of. It reminded me of it in A New Hope when the stormtroopers are just hanging out and just talking shit about what's going on. It was just so blasé and random. It's just a couple of stiffs. We're punching a clock 9 to 5.
But
That's what
the
it
most
reminded me of.
realistic thing of the entire movie.
Right, it totally was.
All right, Ross, since this is your first time joining us on this show, you get to go next. What did you think?
Well,
You've now binged the whole series,
Yes.
like bam, 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 as
So,
we head into
I'll
the
start
home
by-
stretch.
And for the
I'll
record,
start-
I'd like to say that for Ross, welcome aboard for this show. Number one,
Thank
of
you.
course, we love you, and I love to say I'm loving the Mr. Robot cosplayer sport tonight. It's amazing.
hey,
That's what it was.
once again, for those who don't know, I stream from a basement. There's no heat down here.
Well, so does he. So it all works out.
So yes, these are headphones over a hoodie. This is how I'm going to be for the next few
I like
months
it.
as
Headphones over
winter
a
drags through the Midwest. I
Very
will
good.
slowly be getting bulkier and bulkier as I put on more layers.
like the kid in the Christmas story. Yeah, with the arms. Yeah.
I
Oh,
told
yeah,
him
that's
that
right.
he needed to
I'll
get a
be in here
Mac.
like this for long.
All right,
So-
Ross, you're up, buddy.
I'll try and briefly summarize my impression of the series so far before I get to episode 6. I'm very impressed by it. It feels like mini Star Wars movies with its production quality and presentation. It looks and feels just like the rest of the series has on film for the small screen. So that really, really impresses me. And each episode so far has maintained that quality all throughout. The character of the Mandalorian is an interesting one. I'm still warming up to the character. There are some interesting differences between this group of Mandalorians and what I've gotten used to through characters like Sabine and in Rebels, and what we saw of the larger Mandalorian culture in Clone Wars. So I'm curious to see what happened and what changed to go from this huge metropolitan planet that was apparently very prosperous, very multicultural, to these small groups that are essentially in hiding out in the galaxy at large, to where Mandalorians are so few and far between. I know some of the background of what was happening with the Empire raiding, stealing, or pretty much pillaging the planet for all the Beskar they could strip mine. But the character itself has been interesting to watch as the series has progressed. And of course, Baby Yoda is absolutely adorable. In the last episode, I gotta say, it was a delight to see Gina Carrero as the former Republic shock trooper.
Yep.
I've been following her career since she first showed up as one of the characters for Red Alert 3. Command & Conquer Red Alert 3 as the commando. And it followed her as an MMA fighter, and then a lot of the B-movie roles she's been in. If you haven't seen Scorched Earth, it's a fun Western post-apocalyptic movie that she's the headliner for.
Well, I was actually really impressed with her too. I thought her sense of timing, comic timing, was really good. Balanced against the regular dramatic performance, and there was real chemistry between her and the Mandalorian.
Yes, there was.
Yep.
I certainly hope she shows up again.
That's what I love about this
Me
series.
too. I hope so.
They make you
Because so far they've been teasing us with these people we've only gotten for one shots, and
Yeah.
I can understand people like Nick Nolte and stuff. You're only going to get them for 1 or 2 episodes, but she's the kind of actor and part that should be part of it, like on an ongoing basis.
And it was nice to get that New Republic perspective. How she is this soldier. She was born and bred and trained to fight. And then when the Empire was defeated and the New Republic moved away from her, she just left. Which was
I agree with that, because I think through the entire Star Wars film franchise, if we're talking about the original trilogy, the Skywalker franchise, as it were, we haven't seen the perspectives of the grunts in the trenches ever. I mean, it's their background from the very onset, from the opening scene in A New Hope. They've always been background filler.
And that is the joy of the Dave Filoni and now Jon Favreau perspectives.
I agree with that.
Clone Wars and
Clone
Rebels,
Wars,
and now
the same
Mandalorian.
thing. Right, exactly.
I don't know who he played, but Dave Filoni was one of the 3 top dogs that had a cameo in this. I think he was an alien, but I'm not sure. I was going to look it up. I didn't have time.
Oh, I thought he was one of the pilots.
He was one of the pilots. He was a lead X-Wing fighter pilot. Yep, exactly.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yep.
So now, finally, on episode 6, it was quite an experience. Kind of getting the band back together kind of feel, mixed with a touch of Predator. It was an interesting change of pace, and I gotta say, the biggest surprise for me out of this episode, one, the guy with the horns. I love the actor. I can't remember his name, but I see him everywhere.
Clancy Brown.
Great choice for it.
Yeah,
It's also,
He was played by Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob. Thank you very much. That's what I'm going with. Yep.
I was going to say the drill sergeant from Starship Troopers, but okay.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
That door comes down. Can you feel it now, Mr. Krabs?
But the biggest surprise to me was seeing that the New Republic uses combat droids.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing.
I noticed that too. It makes sense, actually.
Yeah. They have more resources that they took from the Empire.
And they don't unionize. So.
Right.
Well, I mean, wasn't the ship itself a repurposed Imperial ship?
Might have been.
I think a lot of their equipment is.
Yeah, it only makes sense.
I don't know about that, because they said in the beginning that it was a republic.
It is now.
Yeah, but I get that. But the aesthetic didn't scream
Empire.
It screamed Empire. It screamed
maybe.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. I remember.
It reminded me again of the opening scene of A New Hope on the on the council ship.
Yeah, I got that vibe.
How spoilery are we getting?
We spoil.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We
So one of the biggest things that interested me about this episode compared to the others is, before, the Mandalorian had absolutely no hesitation to kill. When the Jawas were taking apart his ship, he was vaporizing them, disintegrating them left and right. When he was fighting against the Bounty Hunters Guild, he was taking headshots every chance he could and disintegrating there as well. When he was fighting off against the bandits, he was doing everything he could to just wipe the floor with these guys. But with this crew, we thought he was killing them quite quickly and efficiently, but at the end we find out that he was just tossing them all in the same cell that they tossed him in.
So now we'll find out if bad guys return.
So the question is he trying to kill less, or did he leave them alive for a reason?
It's revenge. It's payback.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead and finish, son.
It's mostly payback for them suddenly yet inevitably betraying him.
Yeah, humiliation is much more satisfying than death. You know,
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
just
I will
knowing
agree with
that,
that.
you know,
And
they're
here's
in a
the-
cell. They went there to get someone out of a cell. They all ended up in one after betraying him. It's just, I think that that's revenge is
All to
sweet.
get the ship, I'm assuming.
Pardon?
All to get his ship, I'm assuming.
You know, that's actually one of the things I had a problem with in this episode was it's not clear really what their objective was. You know, why they betrayed him. I mean, like his ship is not that big a deal, right? I mean, it's
Well, the reason
off the grid.
It was not fully explained, but it was kind of explained in bits and pieces in the episode.
Put it together for me, then,
Okay,
son.
so him and the old guy in the station are old friends.
Mhm,
Quote, unquote. They've been on missions together, and now he's going on a rescue mission to save one of those old comrades, who, when we open the door, mentions that the Mandalorian left him behind to be arrested.
Right.
So this whole thing, again, seems like revenge on revenge on revenge,
Mhm.
not about taking the ship more than anything.
And
Yeah.
Bill Burr's character seemed like he just was getting pissed off at the Mandalorian for one-upping him and making him look bad.
Yeah, I mean, I got the impression of it comes down to this: is that they lured him to do this job because they felt that only he could get it done, okay, and his ship could get it done, and that he was the best person for the job. But by the same token, they were going to kill two birds with one stone, and get their own revenge for leaving the guy to begin with. That's kind of how I pieced it together. I mean, because I think
just feel like you shouldn't have to piece together motivations like that.
That's my problem with it too. Is that it seemed contrived.
You know, because swinging this over to you, George, because we had sort of a little discussion about this in the Facebook group about, you know, you said this is a Western. We should judge it as a Western. And I was like, well, you know, they don't make Westerns anymore, and there's a reason. And to me, you know, if we're going to follow your theory that, okay, we should judge it like a Western, Westerns make it very clear very early what the motivations are, who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, and then just get the hell going with the story.
Well, it's a space Western.
which is one of, you know, that's one of the best parts about a Western, frankly. But the fact that this one didn't do that was what concerned me.
Well, this was honestly a Romulan Western, let's be honest.
No, this wasn't a Western. This is a heist movie.
Yeah, this episode was a heist movie, for sure. It did not feel like a Western at all.
Here's the problem that I'm having now, and I want to reference
Travis Lincoln's.
His Travis Lincoln's.
If you're listening,
quote.
Travis, thank you for contributing these thoughts.
Right, we're giving you a shout out now. And what is? How do I share a screen? Can somebody?
You click the green button at the bottom that says share.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And then it'll pop up a window with the different windows you can select.
Oh,
and just double click on the one you want.
This is kind of amazing. Okay. Show all windows. Let's see. There we go. That's the one I'm going to share.
Don't click your phone one.
All right. Here we go. Okay. So as we see here, Travis Vincent Linton. And if you folks don't know who Travis is, Travis actually is the admin and founder of the biggest Star Trek group on Facebook. So they're going
Sean, you might want to move us over a little bit.
Move you over?
Yeah, we're in the middle of your post. You can move the whole pictures over.
I don't know how to do that. This?
I don't know what you're talking about, George. It's on a separate screen.
Oh,
I've got
right.
a two-screen thing, so that's why it's...
Oh, it's okay. It's my end that I have to...
It's on your end.
So Travis's history. Travis he runs the biggest Star Trek group on Facebook, over 100,000 members.
Yeah, he's a really good admin.
Right, he's a really good admin. He's a really smart guy, and this is what he said about this. And he's a Star Wars fan too. He said, "It's time for me to play devil's advocate on the show. I'm starting to see a pattern that really needs to change in the coming episodes. There have just been one too many episodes of Mandalorian now where we see Mando on the run with a baby, him coming up upon somebody, having an adventure with somebody, and then somebody trying to kill him in the end. It's from the start to give me a sense of repetition in this show. I'm not saying every single episode like this, but each new character I see in the show, I'm starting to call the shots. And I think he's right about this. Is that we are seeing a lot of the same repetition and tropes. And adding to this, my bigger problem with all of this is that we were kind of sold a bill of goods in the beginning on this, about that this was going to be a serial show about well, hold on one second.
I
Life of Dad.
I always love when Hayden appears.
Holy cow. And he is stark naked right now looking for a towel. So we do not want that.
Wow.
No.
No.
Stay off the camera.
The camera is on.
The camera's on, Hayden.
Do not come through here. Okay, no, just. Oh my God. Okay, so anyway, my bigger problem here is that it's like the show doesn't know what it wants to be anymore. I mean, it wouldn't be a big deal if we had hour-long episodes and a 13-episode season where we could do this. But Carlos made the point the other day is that we really don't have time to deviate from the structure of this show for, these new these were effectively standalone episodes, and it's just starting to get it's a little unsettling for a viewer. Like I said, I'm not really sure what this show is trying to do.
I don't mind that though. I think.
Well, I mean, we only have 8 episodes. Is the problem? Okay,
That's the problem.
And
the
unless they plan on surprising us, and they're launching season 2 in March or something, which I doubt is going to happen, I think we're going to all be very unsatisfied at the very end of the season is what's going to happen. But then again, it's like any other show. I look at it from the perspective of, it's not that I don't enjoy the show. I really do. It's a lot of fun, but it may be, trying to find its footing in this season, and I'll give it credit for doing that. I won't be so critical.
Well, one of the things I want to speak up for Jon Favreau here is he's a smart guy. He's really a smart guy, and he's a kind of a humble guy. Like, I think he will look at his own work very critically from this first season, how fans reacted, what they liked, what they didn't like, and learn from it. Now, I know season 2 is already in production, so I don't know how much of that is going to have time to be reflected in the second season. But I really think that to the extent to which it can, he will apply some lessons to future seasons, future episodes.
And we haven't seen the whole season yet.
Right.
We don't have the full picture of what they're trying to do. Kind of like with similar criticisms to Discovery, we don't know what the full story is yet, so we don't know how all the threads are tying together.
Well, the only downside to this is we only got 2 episodes left,
and who knows what's going to happen.
Well, true, but I think Sean's point is that 6 episodes in, we should have a little bit clearer sense of the direction the show is going.
Well, we do know that the mysterious man in black showed up 2 episodes ago, and who he is could be relevant next episode, the one after. Or I'm thinking the last episode, but when he shows up, I have a feeling it's going to be somebody that we'll recognize, because it's going to be something where they leave that off as a cliffhanger, and the audience will go, because they did mention something like that about the show. The last episode's description was he faces off with an unexpected foe, so it could be anybody.
It seems like what we're building towards is an escalation. We had the first couple episodes where he was dealing with the guild. Now he betrayed the guild, and he's going further and further into the underside of the galaxy in order to make ends meet and help support his tribe or clan. Was it tribe or clan?
Well, see, and that's another thing that's a thing that disturbs me with us only having 2 episodes left.
Don't forget to unshare the screenshot at the top.
we haven't heard anything of them having resettled yet anywhere.
That's all happening off screen.
No, I understand, but you would think that there would be some kind of communication.
Not
With-
really.
with-
Not yet,
Not
at least.
really, not really, because it's. I mean, these are half-hour episodes, 35-minute episodes. You know, one of the things we've said before that's a strength, but also has, you know, it's a two-edged sword, is the fact that they don't do B plots and C plots. They have an A plot, and it's not called the Mandalorians. It's just the one. And they're focusing on the one.
I completely understand that, but this idea, but like, yeah, okay. So the first couple of episodes, he is basically helping his little clan tribe there on that little planet. Okay, cool. Then he betrays the guild. They support him, and they all have to scatter to reform somewhere else. So all the jobs he's taking are literally just for him and the kid at this point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's also trying to lay low. He's trying to hide out until it all blows over, except that the kid is still being pursued.
It's a nice touch. They sure know who. Do we know who the puppeteer is? Who does Baby Yoda? Because he's brilliant. I mean, they do a nice job.
It is outstanding.
And to the extent that they add, you know, visual effects on top of it,
right,
it's seamless. I mean, you believe that is a living creature.
I'm going to assume that it's also there's animatronics involved in that as well, or is it?
It is. They said it is.
It looks way too stiff to be CG.
They do use some CG, they said, but
no,
mostly
there's some CG enhancement to it, but the basic performance is real life.
It's basically like the new Gelflings from the Age of Resistance.
Mm.
It's mostly a practical puppet with added CG on top.
Yep.
Thanks, Justin.
Right?
Yep.
Justin said it, so it's true. Yeah, so you know, Travis's post on Facebook about this, you know, really echoes some of what I think we talked about last week as well. The idea that, you know, is it growing stale? You know, in just 6 episodes, is it growing stale? And you know, I think one thing I liked about Chapter 6 was that. It wasn't just another planet. It wasn't just, you know, we got some context about the world we're in now, you know, what the galaxy looks like now. So we got a hint of bigger things going on, you know, what's going on with the New Republic, how they're conducting business. You know, the fact that they have X-Wing pilots that are, you know, can be there in just a little bit when you hit the distress call, that sort of thing. So it was good to have that kind of context so that we get a sense of you know, where and when we are in this show. I don't have any doubt that I'll say this one last thing and then I'll shut up. I don't have any doubt though that whatever complaints I have with where they are right now in the season, I am about 85% certain that they will end very strong. The finale will be a very strong finale.
I just read that when I was trying to find the puppeteer, that they almost replaced Baby Yoda with CGI, and there was a huge internal conflict with
Werner
Herzog said, "You cowards, don't even think about it."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you piss off Werner Herzog,
but there's a
watch
Forbes
out,
article that contradicts that and says no, he did not. But I don't want to read the whole thing.
I think the strongest factor in them keeping the practical puppet was the success of Age of Resistance, a property that Disney let go.
The droid was a costume too, wasn't it?
Had to be. I thought it was from the waist up. I'm sure it was. From the waist down, it had to be CG. There's no way it couldn't have been. But
I'm sure it was.
Unless he was built like Saru.
Well, no, but those were
Doug Jones.
I know, but those were like, you know, metal sticks for legs and big joints. So there's no way that those were real. Those had to be green screened down and digitally painted over.
Well, the droid had the same basic build as C-3PO, so I'm sure they probably did use an actor.
Right, but of course the legs were. I mean, they were basically like Terminator endoskeleton or exoskeleton.
Well, he looks like the droid Zusk. One of those.
You guys are such geeks right now.
Well, do you remember the Empire?
Oh, his legs were too thin to be human.
But in the Empire Strikes, in the famous shot in the Empire Strikes Back, there's a famous shot in the Empire Strikes Back where all the bounty hunters and people learn their names from the action figures.
Right.
Dengar, IG-88. Now they've used an IG-88 type, and this guy looked like Zusk. He had the bug eyes.
It was the same. That was the same. It was the same type of droid.
Right.
Yes, it was.
Okay, right now you just sound like adults in a Peanuts cartoon.
I'm like a Star Trek group.
Let's see. Who haven't we heard from yet? Son, have you weighed in on the episode?
Not entirely. Just
why don't you jump in?
Okay, so there was a human on the ship, and there wasn't supposed to be, supposedly. Yeah. That's a big plot point.
Explain.
Okay, so when the quest, that's what I'm calling it, was given to the Mandalorian, the whole idea was that this was a fully automated ship, that it was staffed entirely by droids, that it was completely automatically run, and yet when they get to the control center, there's a human being. And this human being just so happens to have a strike distress beacon, so that if that button gets pressed, the patrol that comes in instantly destroys wherever the beacon is, or what the beacon is attached to. Which, given it's a prison transport, if there's a riot, you want to destroy the ship.
Right. Yeah. I guess you got a good point. You use it when you expect to have to be destroyed. So
right.
If that makes sense.
I don't. See, this is what I feel. This is what I feel is more complicated about the episode. Again, this is a great Romulan episode. Honestly, there is subterfuge on subterfuge on subterfuge in this episode.
I don't consider that Romulans.
And at the beginning of this episode, we have the friend at the station who keeps saying, just like the old times, and it's like, are you intentionally trying to foreshadow something to him? Are you broadcasting something as slyly as you can that stuff's going to go down?
Because he wanted to kill him at the end too. So
because you just keep saying it at every turn.
Well, yeah, I mean he's
takes off,
hiding in plain sight. Yeah, I mean it was his tell. I don't think he was trying to tell. I think he was trying so hard to make it seem like, oh, we're old buddies, old pals. You trust me, I trust you.
Trying to get him to trust him, because otherwise
he probably just did it too much. You know.
I mean, look. Here's the thing: when your buddy is one of the guys from Sons of Anarchy, you've got it's not gonna go well.
Typecasting.
Yeah, I mean, we as soon as we know how this whole thing's going down.
Not to mention his number one was a former Imperial sniper of some sort.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, these were not this was not the most trustworthy crowd to get involved with.
Of course, they had a Deveronian.
Yeah.
A guy who's apparently immune to fire.
Yeah, that was
they
cool.
do look like devils.
Yeah,
that should have been a giveaway.
That literally, that's literally what I said. It's like flamethrower to the face, and he's like, he's fine. He's like, duh, he's the devil. He's from hell.
He's fine. He's happy. He looks like
when you look like Hellboy.
Here's the bit I loved was the guy who had the extra blaster.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Bill Burr.
I thought that was cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bill Burr.
Yeah.
I think that was a nice touch, to differentiate him. I hated her, by the way.
Oh,
I did not. Oh God, she was so off-putting.
I did not like her at all. I liked her.
Oh, her. I thought you were
brother
talking about
better
Bill
than
Burr.
him.
Sorry. No, I hated her too.
I gotta say, the whole sequence where the Mandalorian was hunting them all down one at a time, that was incredibly satisfying.
He was badass. Remember I was complaining how he got his ass kicked all the time? This episode, he made up for it.
I have to admit, the Lady Twi'lek would be an amazing version of Catwoman.
I don't think she's as classy as Catwoman.
That's
sorry.
No.
Yeah, she's kind of like a filthy cat.
I can't
Oh,
remember.
yeah.
I know
Gross.
she was in Game of Thrones. She was the wildling that took care of Bran.
Oh
her
yeah, that good call. Yeah,
She's been in other things, but I can't remember what else.
This is the first time we've seen throwing vibra knives.
Oh, I love that you actually see the vibrating effect on them.
Yeah. No, that was a nice touch the first couple of episodes. But
Yeah,
these were
Dave only
throwing.
likes to pay attention to the detail.
Okay, let's hear from Justin, and then we're going to do a quick poll. Justin, what do you think?
So the guy in the control room was the voice actor for Anakin.
Yeah,
That's
I talked about that earlier.
Yeah,
he actually looks a lot like him.
yeah, he does.
Yeah,
Doesn't he? Another thing,
Road too.
I got to share a lot of same views as everybody else about this episode. The only thing I really didn't like was the portrayal of the rebels. They kind of made them into the badasses of the galaxy.
Wait, they made who the badasses of the galaxy?
The rebels. Because
Okay.
now they will do something bad and come in and kill you.
Obviously, he's a newbie. It's been 5 years since the New Republic took over. You probably
Yeah,
didn't
but
see
they
anything.
were the ones that are supposed to, be the good guys. They're supposed to be, going out there and,
Well,
not
it's
be,
like any
Republic.
bureaucracy. You're going to have
Yeah.
some that are more
They
bureaucratic
got
than
kill
others.
teams.
I
Yeah,
thought
I don't
maybe
think I
more.
have a bit of a problem with. But other than that, it was a pretty good episode, minus the plot points.
It seems to me, since you're bringing this up, it seems to me that say what you want about the Empire, but they seem to have the bureaucracy kind of on lockdown a lot. I mean, they kind of knew where to put their resources and where not to put their resources. And things, I don't know, they seem to be a little more chaotic under the rule of the New Republic. It's just my observation here.
Well, it's like when the Soviet Union fell.
Right? Exactly.
We had a full decade of just absolute anarchy in Russia.
In Eastern Europe.
Yeah, I mean, when the Soviets were in power, they had everything locked down, and so you had some order. Of course, once it fell apart, there weren't that many systems.
That's where we predicted. I talked about last episode how them losing the order because they got to go somewhere else, which is what the book said. The aftermath is what allowed the First Order to come in and promise order.
Yeah, I think I was about to mention that this would how would the First Order rise? Well, for a sense of I would think by selling that sense of order again is how I think.
There's that.
Even if it's not it doesn't appeal to everyone. It would appeal to enough that they'd be able to make give it a
One
shot.
thing to keep in mind is that the New Republic isn't going to assert authority over the entirety of former imperial space. They're going to be relatively small. They're not going to just immediately take over and inherit the whole pie. They're not going to have the same resources. They're not going to have the same reach. So there's going to be vast swaths of area with little or nothing. Like when we were talking about Tatooine before the pre-show, how dead it all looked. Mm-hmm. Well, under the Empire had a lot of dealings in the Outer Rim. There was traffic there. Once the Empire is gone, that traffic's gone.
I think how the New Republic is going to handle the like you said, they didn't have enough resources to plant people everywhere, but they can get attachés and people to do what we did, like in Afghanistan or other places. We can send people.
I'm not sure we did that to much success, though.
Yeah, I know. But they could send people in to guide their government to change to the laws of the New Republic versus, the way they were, and maybe they'll have representatives there were guardian troops.
It's kind of like post World War II when we rebuilt Europe. That
right.
type of thing. But I wanted to compensate. It was on last week's show. About the two episodes combined, because to me these two episodes were very similar. They were full. I mean, like they were vomiting fan service all over them, especially the last week's episode. And I enjoyed them both, but it's these tales. It's like, but again, I think I'm back to. God, I guess wish this would just get us to the meat of the story here. What is the story that we've got here? But I did enjoy it.
We're eating.
Okay, so here's the poll.
We haven't gotten to the chicken yet.
So here's the poll question. Riffing off of Travis Lincoln's post on the Facebook page. We'll just go round robin here. And are you hopeful about the direction of the show as we're going into the last 2 episodes? Are you confident about the direction of the show, or are you skeptical about its direction based on what we've seen so far? So confident, hopeful, or skeptical? And we'll start with Justin.
I'm skeptical because I think they're going to leave us on a cliffhanger. It's almost a guarantee they're going to leave us on a cliffhanger. Just how much of a story they're going to fill out between now and then, if it's anything like it's been going. I'm hoping they up the ante before the end.
Okay, but you remain skeptical.
Yes.
Okay, Sean.
I'm hopeful, and I'm hopeful because of the quality we've seen so far. I mean, had this probably been any other series, or had this series been 13 episodes, hour-long episodes, these type of, at least the last 2 episodes, probably wouldn't have bothered me. I wouldn't say bothered me, but just let.
Well, there's room for episodes like that when you have a longer season.
That's what I mean. That's my point entirely. But I'm hopeful because it's clear that there's some really smart minds and creatives involved in this, and I think they'll get it. They'll get it worked out. There's just too much talent involved in this for it not to really
Okay,
give us
so
a really good last 2 episodes.
So far, one skeptical, one hopeful. George.
I'm hopeful for the reason Sean said, but also I trust Jon Favreau. I think that the guy in the black was the first sign we had of something that is going to carry over to be someone major. I think he could even be someone, maybe recast, but someone that was part of the original series, or all the trilogies. I think that's what that they are going to cliffhanger it, Justin. I think they're not looking to push the story too much, but enough to make the story continue in chapter 2, to where they do have throughout the chapters or seasons. I mean, they're going to do more but they're just going to take their time doing it. And occasionally, like this episode, they gave a lot of information about the Mandalorian, and they hinted there's a lot we don't know. That droid wanted to kill that baby for a reason, but we don't know why. Because he had looked through all the information, and he kept saying he's found interesting things about the Mandalorian. Now, I don't think it's because of the bounty that he just wanted to kill Baby Yoda, because he could have just taken him back with them. But there's a reason. I think there's more to this in the files. And he was talking to Carl Weathers' character, but that was a recording. So he saw some stuff that may be a hint too, because of what he said. And he...
wouldn't that make him want to capture the baby more than kill it?
But he was pointing his gun ready to shoot.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. But they did say dead or alive. But still,
why kill the asset?
Well, they did say dead or alive. That's something to think about. So,
depends on who gave the order. The IG droid, his instructions were dead.
Yeah, that's right. His was specifically dead.
I honestly think that the majority of people who went to him, the orders were kill. It was just that the scientist bumbled in, and he's like, "Okay, we wanted alive, but
the problem now is we don't actually know what the status of this kid is, because he'd been caught already. Something had been done to him, whether it was
and they said he was ordered to kill him afterwards.
Genetic stuff, and they were going to kill him. So, so maybe that's the specific bounty that they're offering is just dead. But we don't know that yet.
All right.
He's Snoke.
George, one last question for you.
So,
what would make the difference between hopeful and confident for you? Why not go all the way and say you're confident in?
I did say I was confident. I mean,
I thought you said hopeful.
Wait, I guess I didn't understand what the difference was.
Confident means you're pretty sure that they're going to pull it out and it's going to be great. Hopeful means you're hoping it will turn out that way, and you trust that they're kind of good enough to.
All right, then I changed. I thought confident came first. I'm changing it to confident.
Okay, and Sean, you too?
I'm changing confident too now that I understand the parameters here.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't explain it as well as I could have. All right, Son, how about you?
I'm adding a fourth option.
Because of
that's
course
so
you
you
are.
Because of course you are.
I'm adding a fourth option. I'm really just indifferent at this point.
Oh,
I honestly, it doesn't matter to me if it fails me or if it exceeds my expectations. I'm just having a good time with it.
There you go.
okay.
Yeah,
Well, I
that's
wouldn't call
fair.
that indifferent. I'd call that open-minded.
Okay,
It's content.
Yeah,
Content.
Yeah.
you're content.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, we'll allow that fourth option.
I just want to see Toad
I'll
again.
allow it.
That's all.
You want to see Toad? It could happen. It could happen.
Yeah, it could.
Okay, Ross, over to you.
I'm hopeful. Up to this point, I've enjoyed the series so far, but I haven't been excited enough to feel like I wanted to do an after show about it until this episode. So I'm pretty hopeful, and there are threads that are tying each episode together, like the hollow messages that the droid kept bringing up. I think that those are going to play into the story of the next episode. That's the guild is reaching out to him to try and to bring him back in because he is so profitable. But I'm speculating, of course. But I think just looking at the track record of both Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, I think they're going to pull it off in a very satisfying way.
Okay, and I think that just leaves me. I'm going to go with Justin. I'm going to stay in the skeptical column. Although I would say that, based on the explanation you just gave, Ross, that I'm close to hopeful because of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. And I think, they are indeed talented guys. So they certainly have the wherewithal creatively to be able to pull it out. I'm just not sure that they've made all the right choices yet. I'm sure that there'll be creative ones. I'm just hoping that they have a bigger picture in mind. That's
Well, yeah, that's why I was saying maybe it carries over to season 2. It may not all get, it doesn't always have to be.
Oh yeah, no, I'm fine with that. And to Justin, to your comment about the cliffhanger, I would say, with an 8-episode season, you pretty much have to have a cliffhanger if you want people to come back. You want to give people something to talk about and wonder about and debate, just like we're going to do for the months in between the two seasons. So I have no problem with it ending on a cliffhanger. My only issue will be, and I don't think this will necessarily happen, but my only issue will be, because I've seen this before with other series, and you guys have probably heard me complain about this before, where they don't give you enough closure in some part of the storyline to make it satisfying. If they leave everything open, I will count that as a disappointing
there's one thing
finale.
Agreed. There's one thing to have a cliffhanger. But it's another thing to leave it so open ended. I mean, I basically look at it like this: is that with the end of a season, even with a cliffhanger, an end of a season should be able to stand alone by itself as the end of the franchise, where even if they don't answer all the questions, they answer enough that would be, if they needed to be, hypothetically speaking, it could wrap up the series, okay? And you could leave your own imagination to figuring out how these other threads may have developed.
Mm-hmm.
And when they leave it so open-ended that you get it's not satisfying at all. It just pisses you off. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing from a writing perspective to do, to balance enough closure with enough cliffhanger.
They did that with Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
They closed out the main story, but then left the eventual fate of the ship and crew in certainty.
Yeah, I was going to say that Game of Thrones was always very effective at doing this, of leaving out some cliffhanger, yet at the same time giving us enough closure that we can take a breath and go, oh shit, okay, give me a few months now, maybe a year and a half. We'll come back to this, but
Well, it's interesting you bring up Game of Thrones, Sean, because I think one of the things that Game of Thrones was pretty brilliant at for most of its seasons was pacing. in the episodes,
Yes.
how the episodes were paced as part of a bigger whole for the
Right.
season, like so that to the point that you knew the second to last episode of every season was always going to be some kind of major confrontation or
Catastrophic,
battle or something.
Mhm.
And then the last episode would wrap things up, but also leave, some kind of mystery to carry you forth into the next season. And, since this is the first season of this series, we don't know if they have a formula like that for pacing. I don't detect one so far.
But this episode had good.
Well, as a stand, on its own merits, this was a really great episode. How it fits into kind of the broader arc of the whole season is still and that's the reason why I'm still in the skeptical part. But it is the talent of the two guys in charge that gets me close to hopeful.
The pacing part, though, in this episode was interesting because the
pacing of the episode interior was fine. It was
They
great.
had a fast get to the point, take the mission, and then they slowed down, which I thought was good. I like the way they did that.
Yeah, no, I no problem with the pacing inside the episode for sure.
No wasted time at all. I agree.
Too.
What's that, Jason?
I said he finished it off really quick too. Instead of dragging out the ending, they just kind of they jumped back to the station and that was it.
Yeah, and then they were gone. So Travis, I know, is listening because I saw him sign in. If he's still in the chat room, Travis, if you're listening, would love. Why don't you tell us in the chat room where you put yourself on that scale? Confident, hopeful. What was the last one? Skeptical, or not indifferent. We came up with a different word for you.
Content.
Content.
And confidence.
So
there are 2 points about the series. Well, a point about the series so far, and a point about this episode that I'd like to bring up before we do any closing out.
Mhm.
Point about this episode. The intel for the ship was that it was supposed to be fully automated, and that they had a window to be able to break out the prisoner before the ship jumped to hyperspace. Then we found out there was a person on board in the control room. Is it possible that ship is now literally just floating in space? Because we don't know if the jump was automated or person controlled.
Well, that's a very good question, but I'm not sure it really matters for.
I know. It's just it's another one of those. It's another one of those revenge, humiliation type of things. Because at this point, if that's the case, the Mandalorians just left them to starve in a cell until they die.
Well, do we know that they killed off every single droid on that ship?
Well, there was an Imperial that was in one of the cells.
Oh yeah, I saw his.
It was a big ship. I mean,
it's
think
big.
I wouldn't necessarily say that they've killed every droid, but what droid would then suddenly take over command of the ship?
I have a
Without being
feeling it was
programmed to.
automated and he was just there for oversight.
Yeah, that's his
I want to take a second to thank Jason Kovalik, who said, "Good to see you on, George."
Oh yeah, Jason. Hi, Jason.
Kind of like how automated vehicles have to have a human operator just in case. Same concept.
Dude,
there.
He's the IT guy that's on site. That's all he is. What a shit deal he got out of this whole thing.
No kidding. And he died for it.
Join the New Republic, they said. This would be an easy gig, they said.
Join the New Republic.
The other thing is season wide, and yes, it is about the Republic. What we've seen of the Republic has been a lot smaller than kind of the hype the rest of the world has spoken about the Republic having taken over.
They've probably gotten much bigger in 5 years, and I'm pretty sure that we just haven't seen their fleets and everything.
Well, yeah, I understand, but what I'm saying is when he lands on Mos Eisley, there's all this talk about the Republic having taken over the planet, yet we don't see.
They didn't say that. They just removed the huts.
Well,
and there was a lot of stormtrooper helmets on spikes.
All right.
Yeah, but where are the Republic guards?
They're not occupying Tatooine.
They're consolidated around the core.
They clean up the planets and they move on.
This is kind of my point. There's this hype that the Republic is a lot bigger than it actually is, floating around in the galaxy.
Yeah, I think it like Ross indicated. I don't think it is. I think it's a lot less pervasive.
Well, that's
And-
exactly why I think they're moving around.
Well,
Because-
what's my funniest part about it? Go ahead, John. I'm sorry, you finish. I want to make this note real quick.
Well, what they do in real life in the military is if they don't have a lot of troops in one area during the war, they'll rotate and have other troops come in, and then they'll just rotate them around so it looks like there's more personnel than someone might see. I think that's kind of what
same guys over and over again.
Alternatively,
It's certainly. Sorry, go ahead, Ross.
it could just be propaganda. The New Republic is hyping up that they are everywhere, where in fact they're a lot less effective than they're saying they are.
The
Well,
New
especially
Republic,
the-
a
that
paper
they're there.
tiger.
Yeah, well, I think that's exactly the case. The Republic is a paper tiger.
Mhm.
That's why, and as we saw in The Force Awakens, the First Order was able to practically wipe them out with a single strike from Starkiller.
Well, in
They wiped
Resistance,
out the
Ross,
bulk of
Which
the...
was really one of the things I disliked about The Force Awakens was like how easily the New Republic fell.
well,
But that's exactly why the First Order was able to grow.
Yeah, no,
The
I
New
get that.
Republic
I get
builds
that.
up.
Yeah,
Hey,
I thought
we're
so, too.
the big power in town now. We're taking over where the Empire took over.
Ross,
Here we are.
You've watched Resistance.
Yeah.
And remember in the first season, like I can't remember the kid that's the main character. He was talking to his father and explaining the horrible things that they need to support the Resistance. And the father pretty much explained that the New Republic doesn't believe that the First Order is a threat because they would basically want to stay out of the conflict.
Because the New Republic demilitarized.
Right.
They stepped back significantly from a war fighting front to a peacekeeping one, like the commando from the last episode. They stepped back significantly because they wanted to be a peacekeeping force, not
Travis.
a military force. They wanted to differentiate themselves from the Empire. And when the New Order showed up and they took over places like Corellia and everywhere else, the New Republic didn't want to get into another fight. So they consolidated around the core, and the First Order practically wiped them out.
You know, I think it's funny. There's in the what is it? Revenge of the Sith, the Red Letter Media here, Plinkett review of it. He says that if you ever wondered how a war fought by hippies would be fought, this is it entirely. and it's so true. It's like in the same mentality has carried to the New Republic as well.
Yeah, no, I mean that was a thing that even Leia had said. Is that you know, they had been like this small little resistance against a big massive empire, and when they won and took over, they just instantly let everything go and said, "We're not going to fight anymore because we're in charge now. Obviously, we're in charge."
Well, also,
basically, these are back in charge. Yes.
Well,
hold
also,
on.
there was a bit of a false sense of security because the Empire fell within a year.
Yeah.
The infrastructure was gone. The Emperor had no successor. The Empire was designed to disintegrate as soon if the Emperor ever died.
Well,
So, with
sure.
no major threat left in the galaxy,
Sure.
of course the New Republic was going to feel a little cocky.
Well,
let
yeah,
me,
except- Let me just say one thing, George, and then I'll shoot over to you. I think that the examples we've seen where this has happened in history is pretty well described by what you said earlier, Ross. That that they're going to focus on the core and maintaining order there, but that means that outside of that, you're going to see a lot of former Imperial forces, and we've seen a little bit of that already. Former Imperial forces consolidate into warlord domains,
Yep.
and that's what you're seeing. Not strong enough each on its own to challenge the New Republic, but strong enough to maintain control over the little neck of the
Being
woods
the
that they
kings
are.
of their particular hills in the
Exactly.
words of Deanna Troi.
I mean, this is what
But
Peter
those
Cushing's.
were the outliers. The bulk of the Imperial fleet was destroyed around Jakku, and everyone who was left but still quote unquote loyal made for the unknown regions, and that's where the First Order was built up.
All right, let me say one thing because we're trying Travis said in the chat, well, before I joined, I didn't realize that the season was only 8 episodes. Not going to lie, I am leaning towards skeptical, particularly because I question if they can make me care about the lead characters in 40 minutes or less 2 more times. I seem hopeful, but not holding my breath.
Fair enough.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough,
Yep.
Travis. And Augustin chimes in after that and says, running out of available episodes left, and The Mandalorian is kind of spinning their wheels these last few episodes. And, that's kind of exactly what I was talking about last week. Again, that's why I remain skeptical, even though I'm trending hopeful, because it's just, it does seem like a bit of a misstep to me.
That Augustin, man, he's a bright guy, and I say that because we went to the same high school together.
That's why. Scary.
We were taught by the bazillion priests. So,
So now that leads me to the next most important question. And Augustin, the question is this: are you wearing any pants?
I'm not.
Yeah, George isn't.
George is there flapping in
George,
the breeze.
I have handed over the mantle of pantlessness to you, my friend.
Oh, I'm more than pantlessness.
We don't need to know.
Here.
Yeah, we see your gown flapping in the wind there, buddy.
It's a fan.
Okay, we're bumping up against our hour since we started. So a couple program notes. The Mandalorian this week will be released on Wednesday instead of Friday.
Cool.
It's so stupid. Because what? They think people are going to not go see The Rise of Skywalker because they don't want to miss the Mandalorian?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Are we going to do a spoiler cast?
You mean right after?
In the weeks after?
Or are we going to do it? Are we going to do a Rise of Skywalker episode, by the way?
That's what I was just asking.
Oh, you're talking about Rise of Skywalker spoilers.
Oh, yeah, when we do it.
Yeah. I think we should, for sure.
You can't give a good review without spoiling it.
Oh, yeah. No. The people, I think it's understood if you're coming on this podcast, if we're watching this podcast.
Well, what what we can do
it.
is we'll structure it in a way that we could have the segment start out as a spoiler-free segment.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we'll warn people off as we move into a spoiler.
Maybe after Christmas. Probably be.
Maybe. I mean, the thing is, that's a long time to wait.
Yeah, right. Our general feeling on this when it went to films is that in order to remain relevant, you got to kind of hit it, strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So it does, let's see, it premieres on the 20th, which is a Friday. We do a show on a Friday, or on the 20th. This time I probably won't see it on Thursday.
I'm seeing it on Saturday. I've already got my tickets for Saturday morning.
Depending on how I feel during the chemo, I'll be there within the first couple of days.
Well, you guys want to do...
We can talk about it off air?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it off air and we'll let people know. Good point, Ross.
Sorry.
Thank you. We'll talk about it off air and let people know.
One thing I wanted to mention that I didn't mention is that, and this was such a great little Easter egg they put in, not this episode, but the last episode, when Mando walked into the cantina, and it was actually manned by a droid as opposed to, we don't allow your kind in here.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Much.
Yeah, that was nice. That was a nice point. Nice touch. So chapter 7 this week, the logline for it is: an old rival extends an invitation for the Mandalorian to make peace.
It probably is Carl Weathers.
It's probably Carl Weathers, but it should be someone we know of, I think. So let's see what happens.
It's Weathers.
I do want to say, though, it was nice, finally. George, you had a problem with this, and it seems like it's only after he gets his ass kicked and wants revenge that he is now one step ahead of all.
Oh, yeah, I mentioned that earlier when I said that I liked how, he was getting his ass kicked throughout this one. He was one step ahead.
Well, he was definitely one step ahead, but only after getting his ass betrayed.
Well, I think he knew. I think he was very clear of the conditions when he joined this crew that he was probably going to get betrayed. Yeah, I think he knew going in.
He did.
Yeah.
So he was planning. He was really planning 5 steps ahead, regardless of the situation.
Yeah, he was just being prudent.
Yep.
You have to kind of plan on betrayal as one of your contingencies.
Well, yeah, when you hang out with criminals, when you work with criminals, expect them to act like criminals.
These guys were the biggest assholes.
They were dicks the whole way. They weren't even like being coy about it. They were just
Yeah, they weren't. Bill Burr was about the closest to a funny, charming member.
Yeah,
He was
that's
also
not
an
saying
asshole.
Yeah.
Like he is in.
He was
I don't
definitely
care
an
who
asshole.
you are. You don't touch another man's guns.
No,
And then they
I
tried to
agree.
force his helmet off and messed with this kid. And, oh my God, did you guys get tense when they opened the door and saw Baby Yoda?
Yes.
And they were
Yes. Yes.
I was like,
frankly, I was wondering where the hell is Baby Yoda? You know,
Well, I figured
we
you
hadn't
hit
seen him all episode. It's like,
And of course, they close the episode in the most perfect Baby Yoda way possible. He twists off that little knob and hands it to him.
oh my God, that was so adorable.
I love
Well,
it.
wait a minute.
That gets me in
like
the
that-
feels every time.
But see, there was that rapport there. There was that rapport there too.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he goes-
that was
he goes,
why it
I
worked.
told you it was a bad idea.
Yeah. Have
Like
you
they
guys
were
seen? Have
actually-
you guys seen that adorable Baby Yoda meme? The one where they dub in the cantina music
Yes.
in that
he's-
scene when he's turning
Yes,
flipping
Yes,
switches.
there's a whole bunch of them. The one I don't know if I shared it. I meant to. Where he flips on 50 cents in the club. It's amazing.
They got another one where they does Sandstorm Vibe. I mean, they got a whole bunch of those.
My
I ordered-
favorite one
I
is
ordered,
Guile's theme.
I got
ordered a
one of
baby-
my favorite Baby Yoda ones this time around. Whenever the droid opened the door and he's trying to use the Force on them, and then Mando shoots him in the back, and then
That was great.
Baby Yoda was like, "Oh crap, did I do that?"
Thought it was good. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I ordered a Baby Yoda T-shirt.
this is
Yesterday.
the big last question. Who thinks old beardy guy's still alive?
No.
Oh, I think he's dead.
The guy's a
One of those-
cockroach.
Dude literally ran off to an escape pod the moment those things warped in.
I'm out.
I don't know. Maybe
He's a cockroach. He's going to show up again.
Yeah,
possibly. I mean, it's like in the comic books. Unless you see a body, they ain't dead.
well, that's exactly
George.
it. I agree with that theory. That's for sure.
George, you mentioned that you just ordered a Baby Yoda shirt.
Yeah, it's Calvin Hott's top style. Baby Yoda's at the front of the sleigh.
Oh,
and-
that's
and
got to
put-
be
And Mando's
that's
in
got
the
to
back.
be unlicensed then.
I don't. Yeah. Well, no. Yeah, I don't know.
Disney would not impinge on somebody else's IP.
Well, you not
Well,
get on the tail of
and
a
of course,
product.
Bill Waterman has never he's never done any licensed merchandise ever
Right.
in the history
Yeah,
of the
ever.
product.
Even though
Yeah.
there's lots of unlicensed merchandise.
It's all everything that's out there is all unlicensed. That's what people don't understand about Calvin and Hobbes. There's
Yeah,
never been any
that's right.
licensed merchandise for it.
Exactly. But speaking of Baby Yoda and Mandalorian merch, Hasbro announced this week that an entire line of Baby Yoda or the child
Yeah,
As
it's
a
not till
poem.
March or May or whatever.
that's supposed to come out in May, which is a really effing long time to
I
wait.
pre-ordered 3
Yeah.
Baby Yodas already.
Just in time
that
for
was my
season
limit.
2.
There you go.
Yeah, probably. Actually, that's probably a better indication of when season 2 is
It's
coming.
coming out. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. They had a limit of 3 of the 11-inch Baby Yodas, and I pre-ordered 3. So
So how-
I
That's
really
cool.
want a Baby Yoda plushie, like the
that's
one
that's
we have on the Trello. It is a dang. I want that robe thing he's wearing. Like, I love the collar. Did you notice, by the way, that is basically a Star Trek Discovery collar?
Yes, it is. It is.
And just saying.
Oh, and we're the nerds. Thanks, Carlos. Okay.
Oh, come on. That's just a fashion choice, not the legs on the droid clearly were too thin for a human to have played them.
Wow.
Oh,
Carlos
that's a
is-
good impression. That's a good impression.
Actually.
So, like,
Oh my God, that was perfect, Sean.
So, is it just my Facebook, or was it shared to the Super Geeks group, the Baby Yoda cookie cutter?
I saw that.
Oh, I did
Yes,
see
that's
that. I did
great.
see that. Yeah, they
just
used the
snapped the head off of an angel.
an
Yeah.
angel.
Yes,
I love that
amazing.
that's how they make it. Snap the head off the angel. Turn it into-
That's the shirt I ordered.
Okay, this is a discussion for a different day. The only thing I don't like about these, and it's like, look, I buy shirts from like places like the $10 t-shirt sites, like who's the one I always use? Anyway, well, they actually use original artists' work. Okay, I get it's not licensed. They only sell for a day. I'm not gonna argue that now. But what the problem with those guys, like on Facebook, that you see the ads pop up for, and on Amazon, is what they do is they just send bots out to troll for other original artwork and slap it on a t-shirt and sell. and that's been becoming an issue. And it's like here's the thing. It's like I'm a model builder, okay, and yes, there's a lot of garage kit manufacturers out there that aren't, of course, licensed, but they make stuff that others don't make. And this is kind of like the same thing. It's just bad form. And it's like these Chinese companies are doing this. Like they have these bots that troll Twitter and look for all this original art.
Yeah, no, this has become a big thing lately.
Yep.
This has become a big thing.
Have you heard what
lately.
people are doing to combat it, though?
Yes,
the hashtag this site steals t-shirts. Yeah.
Well, no, people
They're
are
literally
using
creating-
the keywords that the bots are looking for
Right.
to put logos that, hey,
Yep.
I steal artwork,
Yep.
or putting something from Disney up there, so Disney will go after them and sue them.
Right, yeah. And the thing about it's like most of this artwork out there, I think that they're not, and they've been this kind of is notorious for copyright protecting their IP, but I think with this especially because there's so little licensed merchandise out there, it's almost like they're kind of like giving independent artists a free pass right now because it's getting it out there. It's
sort of like fan films, it's like,
yes, exactly.
They tolerate it because it builds, word of mouth and excitement,
right?
And all that,
exactly. Yeah,
so that when the real merch comes out, people will buy.
Exactly. And there's it's not like Disney Plus is, of course, has been heavily marketed, but like for example, the Mandalorian itself,
oh God, bro.
it's not like it's being marketed all over TV. It's entirely a word of mouth viral experience at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that kind of word of mouth is it's a long tail. It's something that because it's so organic, it lasts for a long time, more than advertising does. So it pays off in the end for sure.
Yeah, and it's clearly not hurting them because of the amount of, like I said, independent artists out there that are putting things out there that they're not giving a shit. Etsy's full of them, and Disney's been notorious for hammering down on Etsy and on Etsy sellers too. And so, hey, whatever. As long as they're happy, nobody's complaining. I ain't complaining.
Okay. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of Mandalicious for this week. Thank you all for joining us. Remember that we will be back next Sunday to talk about Chapter 7. And remember also, it drops on Wednesday, not on Friday this week. So, and start getting your reservations for The Rise of Skywalker, because that's definitely coming up. Parting shots. Everyone, you get one sentence to take us out. Let's start with Ross. Anything you want to say?
I have spoken.
Okay. And Son?
Toads rule.
George?
This is the way.
All right. By the time it gets to me, I'm not going to have anything to say. Sean?
She beat me to it. This is the way. I mean, jerk.
Justin?
I have spoken.
Somebody else already said that.
Dang it, Ross.
Hey, I'm the eyebrows. It's mine now.
That's true. Eyebrows of Doom. My final words are, I remain skeptical, period. That's it for this week. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Don't forget our Super Geeks regular show, Friday at 10 p.m. Pacific time.
Awesome.
Peace out. Mandalorians.
And we will
Thanks for
be off
watching.
in 3, 2, 1, and
And we're clear on Twitch.
Okay.
we're clear on Facebook.